This is Pat Ennis of Ennis Legacy Partners. Welcome to the Exit Readiness Podcast. Our mission here on the Exit Readiness Podcast is to provide you, the business owner, with subject matter expertise on topics pertaining to building sellable or transferable business value and then planning your eventual exit from the business. We want to help you build a business that's transferable and then help you exit successfully on your own terms and conditions. And here's a question that's worth sitting with, if for you listeners, for a moment, 2 moments, 3 moments, maybe more moments. If you stepped away, excuse me, if you stepped away from your business tomorrow, not permanently, but for about 90 days, what would happen? What would it look like? Would the business continue to run? Would it continue to run the way you'd want it to continue to run? Would your team left behind be making good decisions? Would they be in constant contact with you as you're on the beach drinking Mai Tais or whatever you drink on the beach, pina coladas, I guess? Uh, would your clients stay? Would your revenue hold? Would it grow? Would your operations to continue? Would they continue without you in the room making decisions? Well, for most business owners, the honest answer is uncomfortable at the least, because most owners have built something that works. It works a lot, and it works oftentimes largely because of them and their involvement and how central they actually are to the business. It's their relationships, their judgment, their presence, and um, and so here's why that matters beyond the day to day. A business that depends on the owner is not as transferable in the way that the owner would like it to be transferable when they want to transfer it. It's not sellable at max value if the business is still too dependent on the owner. It's not something a buyer, a successor, or a next generation of leadership can step into with confidence about the future without that owner continuing to be there. And so owner dependency or over dependency is one of the most consistent value killers we see in exit planning. And one of the most solvable, though. It's not complicated, but it's not really easy either. It just requires intentional, disciplined action. And that's today's conversation. It's about exactly that. And we're going to narrow it today. We could talk about a whole lot of different things, but we're going to narrow it to 3 practical actions that you, a business owner, can take right now, starting today, to begin stepping back, not stepping back entirely, right away, gradual, but building the kind of independence in their business, in your business, that is going to create this transferable value that we continue to talk about. And we have with us a return guest, friend, Laurie Barkman. She's been with us, I don't know, I think this is her 3rd time with us. Laurie's a nationally recognized growth strategist, speaker, CEO, past CEO. She's helping primarily engineering, architecture, and design services firms. She's not limited to those, but that's her focus. Scale their companies with clarity and confidence. She's the founder of the Business Transition Sherpa, author of the Business Transition Handbook, and host of the award-winning Succession Stories podcast. Certified exit planner like us, M&A advisor. Laurie's helping owners like us build scalable businesses that are less and less owner-centric. And so it's great to have her back with us again. Laurie, welcome back. Good to see you.
Oh, thanks so much for having me back. 3rd time's a charm. Thanks again for having me on the show, guys. This is a great conversation. I love how you've teed it up here on the Exit Readiness podcast. I mean, the theme for today, as you've said, Pat, it's really starts with the owner. I think there's a difference between the economics as a business owner and the operations as a business owner, and they really can be separate. But I think especially when we're the founder and we are growing the business, we're very much still involved in the business, those things are intertwined. And many owners can't sort of fathom, oh, economics. Okay, so maybe I'm I'm getting a salary and I'm taking distributions, and maybe my spouse is getting a salary, even if they're not working in the business. And we go on trips. Maybe they're not business trips, but we're expensing them. And we're building a barn, and the barn is going to be a business expense, and things like that. So on the economic side, we have to be careful that our business that we've created, one, isn't just a job, right? It isn't just a job, and it's also not just like a cash register for you and your family. Now, if it is, and we're accounting for those things, and we have a great way to track so that one day we can go back and isolate those expenses and do add backs as needed in a valuation exercise, then that's okay, right? I mean, I think we understand that business owners are making decisions to potentially mitigate taxes and things like that. But at the end of the day, if we don't know what those expenses are that are related to the owner, we can't account for them, then we might be understating the net profit in the business. So that's one thing. And then on the operational side, and I think Pat teed this up very well, we can have lots of conversation today about, well, what should owners be thinking about when they look in the mirror? It's a great song by Michael Jackson, right? Man in the mirror. What is he saying? I'm looking at the man in the mirror and I need to change my ways. The business owner, it starts with you. Business owners, I think you're listening to your guys' show. So business owners, I'm talking to you, got to look in the mirror on these things and say, where are you the bottleneck in the business? So I'd love to talk more about all of that with you guys today.
Yeah, well, let's do it. So, there's a number of different things that we could talk about in regards to owner centricity, but let's focus on the three actions that you've come today all fired up about. Let's talk about that. What's number one?
Yeah. So three actions. How can business owners start to untether? And I think the very first one, I've sort of already mentioned it, which is we got to look in the mirror. Are you the bottleneck in your business? Let's give some examples of where we could be a bottleneck. You might be a bottleneck if you're running the sales process and you yourself as the owner are generating more than 40% of total revenue for the business. That's a red flag. So maybe you're generating 10%, or maybe you're only working with strategic accounts. Hey, cool, great. The other thing, particularly around the sales process, is if you're bringing other people on a ride along with you, that's awesome. If you're not, again, it poses the risk of who has the key relationships. The other thing to take a look at on the bottleneck side could be product or service, either creation or delivery. A lot of times, as the founder, we stay real close to the product or service delivery. And so let's say it's an engineering company. Maybe all the drawings have to go through you. Are you the only certified engineer in the business? I've had a client in the civil engineering space where one of the owners was the only licensed surveyor, and she had to spend nights and evenings and weekends reading through and approving the drawings. Well, obviously she's a bottleneck, and it wasn't a healthy, sustainable thing for her and her family, and it's been a challenge. And burnout is a risk. Burnout's a really big risk. Throughput and efficiency becomes a risk. Cost becomes a risk. Again, I think on the bottleneck side, there could be any number of things where you are the bottleneck. So maybe it's decision making. Perhaps the decisions big and small are all running through you. So examples, of course, would be on the financial side. Maybe we have other people approving expenses. Maybe the threshold is not clear. So all expenses go through you versus, if it's under whatever thousands of dollars, it could be auto approved by our controller or our office manager. There's examples of things that we can delegate where we can put some controls and parameters. So again, thematically, number one for sure is, are you a bottleneck in your business, and identifying why and how we might change those things.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yep. And so, what's an action? What's the action then that you're going to recommend that we're going to recommend today in regard to the bottlenecks? First, assessment or analysis as to where we're seeing those bottlenecks.
Yeah, I think the exercise is what I do with my clients is that we do a time study. If they're open to it, they'll do it for a month. With clients that are that are service businesses like engineering firms or marketing services firms, time is money. And time is our inventory. Our people's hours that they are able to be billable is the inventory. And so a lot of service firms who are not tracking have no idea where the inefficiencies are and the costs are. We did this exercise with a marketing services client of mine, and it was so eye opening. Not only did we have the owner do this exercise, we had their entire team. So let's say 10, 12 people do a time tracking for a month. Was it fun? No, of course it wasn't. But what it really opened their eyes to when we got the data back was how much time was spent internally on meetings and internal documents and email correspondence back and forth, internal, not to client. And then they uncovered where they weren't charging for clients of their time where they could, such as travel and other things. And it was incredibly valuable. It also served a purpose of them understanding the power of the data, and I've encouraged them and supported them and helped them find a good platform for not only timekeeping but also integrating with project management. So it's not just owner specific in that example, but it really did start with the firm owner, that they needed to kind of check in on what culture they were creating, where it was okay to have a too long did not read kind of email, right? Which is long email, and it probably took them let's say an hour plus to write it. And now you've got everybody reading it and all that time. So I think starting with a time study could be a great place to start. And even just one person, if it's just you, right? Just you doing the time study on yourself. Do it for 2 weeks. See if that's a normal period of time. If not, make it longer. And then from that, you write your kind of, I have a template for this and everything. But basically, it's like, well, what are we tracking? It's, do allotments of 15 minutes. If you can start to see patterns and categories of how you're spending your time, then start to make note of that. So if it's internal or admin, or if it's client time, or if it's project development, whatever those categories are, start to look for those patterns, because that's essentially what we're going to do, is do a roll up and find categories, like maybe 5 or 6 categories of where you're spending your time in any given month. And what we'll do is do percentages. So let's say we have 30% of our time is spent on this and 20% on that and 10%. And then we say, okay, given your job description, which you probably don't have written down, but given your theoretical job description as the owner and CEO of this business and of your firm, where should you be spending your time? So I did this exercise with a client of mine in California. He's the founder of a construction services firm. And it was so eye-opening for him, because he was doing, as you would guess, right, a lot of administrivia and stuff like that, and less so on other things. And so the follow-up exercise that we do is, I call it the skill fun box. And the skill fun box is measuring, where are you highest and best use in your business, and where does it make you feel good. If we're good at something and we feel kind of crappy doing it, you're not going to want to do it, right? And then the opposite is true. If you're not good at it and you enjoy it, well, maybe we want to just make you better at it. And so there's the mood and the emotion around doing these things, like, oh, I'm good at this, but I just hate it. I just never want to touch it. Or I'm bad at it and I don't want to do it. Okay. So if you put in these 4 quadrants of good, not good, and like it, don't like it, we have 4 quadrants. And what are we looking for? We are looking for the obvious red flag space. Not good at it, don't enjoy it. Okay. Let's start there. Now we have a delegation conversation, or an outsource conversation, or an elimination, or what are we going to do with these roles and responsibilities to get them off of your plate, get them either more productive. There's lots of options. Can we automate, right? Identification is the first step. So yeah, you said assessment. Yeah, absolutely. Let's assess, where are we today? The thing with the client in California, why I brought him up, he said, well, I don't have a job description. And I said, yeah, it doesn't shock me. We don't have a job description. Let's write one for you. And guess what shows up in the job description? Strategy, working on the business, succession planning, things that he just wasn't able to get to or wasn't on his radar. And now with this strategy of, What should I be doing? What should I be making time for? So you have the as is, and then you have the should be. So that in a nutshell, if I've described it properly, is kind of a combination of exercises. The action plan here starts with you. You got to look in the mirror and then take the time to identify what's bringing you joy, what's bringing you down, what are you good at, what are you not, what are those ideas to really make a difference, to start to delegate. And then these are building blocks, right, Pat and Walter? These are building blocks, because now if we can bring other people or other teams or automations into the process, we are unbottlenecking. We're unbottlenecking, we're untethering, and we're creating value. So this is good, healthy work to do. And the good news is you're going to be creating enterprise value by doing it.
Okay, so that's number one, bottleneck. And you want to assess. You want to expose reality. We like to use that terminology as to what is and what should be. And I like the use of the word. We want to identify patterns that that lean toward owner centricity versus the opposite. Okay, so bottlenecks number one. What's number two?
Okay, so one of the things I wanted to share today, which is new on my end, is that I've created a proprietary model that I call the built method. And for architecture, engineering, design, it's kind of an homage to the industry, right? The built environment. But BUILT stands for something. And the B doesn't stand for bottleneck, it could. B stands for blueprint. We want to blueprint your vision and the model you want for yourself and for your firm. And so while I put the bottleneck part first, it's because it's triage. If we're really in a situation as an owner where we're working like 60 plus hours and we're burning out and we're facing divorce and our health is an issue, you gotta put out the fires, right? So again, I think starting with the owner, dependency, is a great place to start there. The second part of this, Pat Walter, I believe, is goal setting. A lot of owners don't have their vision of the future kind of laid out of what they want to do. And or if they do, it's just in their head, it's not on paper. So if we have goals and we haven't written them down and we haven't shared them widely and no one else knows what they are they going to happen? Well, probably less likely to be so, right? I think studies have been done on this. You're like 40% plus more likely if you write them down. And hey, by the way, let's communicate and share. So blueprinting your vision for your personal transition. A lot of clients that I work with, and I'm curious about you guys, I'm looking to work with folks who are 5 to 7 years out. So they're Gen Xers, they're like me. They're in their mid 50s, they're 5 to 7 years away. They're looking at the baby boomers going, you know what? I don't want to do it the way they did it. And so they are interested, but they don't know. They don't know where to start and it feels confusing. And so they just feel stuck. So what I like to do with clients is, we sit down, we really get to know what their business is. Of course, that's important, but we also need to get to know what's important to them and their family and other stakeholders. I have some clients that tell me, believe it or not, like I have one client in his 70s. He and his wife have said it's not about the money. They're very insistent about that. They want to maximize, but it's not the only thing. They want to preserve culture. They care about their family and sort of the legacy, implications of wealth transfer to their family, and seeing the joy that some of that wealth transfer can bring sooner versus later. Again, they're in their 70s, so you know what I'm saying here. Um, I think for people in their 50s and 60s, they do have maybe hopefully a benefit of more time to see the fruits of their labor, and enjoy that. For some, it's yep. You know what? If they have another business in them, that's sometimes we hear that too. Like, oh, okay, this has been great. I'm ready to move on. People in their 40s, 50s, again, have the luxury of more time, to be able to maybe start another business or buy a business. But I see that a lot with serial entrepreneurs, that they want to see it through. So everybody's goals are different, is kind of what I'm saying. Everyone's goals are different. Just matters that we articulate what yours are, and so that we write them down, and then we use them to have a lens towards action that fits back and aligns with your goals.
Good. Okay, and then number three.
So the third thing is unlock. So build stands for, just at a high level, the blueprint, which I covered, unlocking, which we'll spend time on now, unlocking operational and leadership bottlenecks. So we've talked a bit about the leadership side. I want to talk about operational, integrating your system structure and your team, leading with clarity and not chaos. And the T stands for transition with confidence and control. So back to the next piece here, which is unlock. Okay, what can we unlock? Well, we've talked about how are we the owner, not the leadership bottleneck. So cool. Okay. Now, on the operational side, once we've done our time study and we can understand what opportunities are, I think one of the things here is looking at what's repeatable. You might think, oh, well, I'll just do this. It takes me 5 minutes. Okay. But are you doing that thing 5 times a day, 5 days a week? That's a great candidate for a repeatable process that, again, might be automated or taken off your plate as the owner. When it comes to automation tools, this could fit in here really well. Um, the use of agents in some businesses. How can we automate certain tasks that are related to the financial side of the business? Maybe there's things related to accounts payable, accounts receivable that can help speed up payments or be metering out decision making around when things should be paid. So just really taking a look, what are the repeatable processes in your firm? And it's not just the repeatability that's the key here. It's the opportunity to scale as well and the value. So if we have a process that's teachable or outsourceable or automatable, it is something that's repeatable, right? Can be repeated. It is something that is of value to our clients. They care about it. Maybe they're even willing to pay for it. And it's something that can help your business scale. Those are a bit of the columns I would put in a table, right? If you're kind of thinking, oh, visually, what does this look like? Well, you can create a table with those columns. And on the valuable side, you might even get a little more specific. Well, of what processes we're talking about here, and go through the checklist. And the processes, by the way, could be service processes. So let's say you're an accounting firm and you do, annual tax process. Okay. You do whatever, client intake. You could kind of write down like what are the core processes and then have a lens of evaluating some of these other things. It will bounce us back to that original conversation of who. Maybe that's a column. Who's in charge of this process right now? How streamlined is it? If any of my owners out there, especially in engineering firms, have spent time doing process improvement, then inherently this is going to click and make sense. It's the same thing that we do for clients to help them with process improvement. And a lot of times we're not eating our own dog food on it. So I do think that not only are we unlocking because we're kind of attacking these bottlenecks, but also this integration side of the I and built, right? It's this integration opportunity for structure. It's going to have implications for how you'll structure your business and the team, identifying roles that you might need that you might not have today, or vice versa, that you don't need anymore.
Okay, good. So, in summary, then we have talked about leadership teams in regard to assessing, again, starting with assessing where the owner is or owners are too central to the business and how and what needs to be delegated, what is now, what it needs to be, and who do we need to include that we're not including in regard to roles and responsibilities, identifying patterns that need to be shifted maybe to other people. You've talked about the importance, of course, this is foundational to exit planning, the goals and objectives of the owner, because it's not unusual for us to get a new client thinking that sale to their management team is what they want to do, only to go through our process and find out that, oh, wait a minute, based on all your goals and objectives, what's really going to make the most sense for you is a third party sale. So, yeah, goals and objectives, that's foundational. Got to do that. That's an action. And then systems, again, make effective operational systems in place that are going to help in decentralizing that owner. Uh, is that basically a summary of the
That's a great
three?
summary.
With the delegation piece, that could be the hardest because they've got to change their role. They've been doing it for sometimes 35 years, but even if they've been doing it for 5, it can be really hard to change. And that could be the hardest thing. It's not real complicated a lot of times. Hey, you should not be doing this. They should be doing this. It's not rocket science, but it's hard. It's hard to let go, and it's hard to change. And so sometimes it just takes a lot of patience, diligence, and intentionality, like like Laurie said. Then too, what we have found, and actually Laurie hit on this in her second point, was it helps that owner if they have a vision of what's next. And so, hence, as you know, we created Exit Readiness Next Act. It's based on the Japanese philosophy of Ikigai, in which it's a process of helping folks think about what is going to come next that's going to be meaningful, it's going to be purposeful, because they've had so much meaning and purpose to their life for the last how many ever years. They've had a lot of impact on a lot of different people. And so all that goes away, they're going to be miserable. But if they've got vision as to where they're going to, a lot of times it can make that change of role easier. If we can go back to it, we can say, okay, look, I know it's tough. It's tough to give that up. You like doing sales. You've been doing sales for 25 years, but you got to give it up. Now, let's look at what you want to do next and remember that, because that's where we're heading. And we have found that that can be very helpful to remind them of that vision that they're working toward, Laurie. What do you think about that?
I think that's right. And I've created a set of tools that I call Endgame Entrepreneurship Masterclass. And the book, as you mentioned earlier, it's based on the book. It's based on my practice with business owners preparing for 7 and 8 figure exits. And not surprisingly, given this conversation, my book and the masterclass, they both begin with the personal side of transition planning, because it is about the owner mindset, having a transition mindset. I spend a decent amount of time in the exercises, videos, the modules that I've created for owners, because if we don't have that mindset and we don't understand the impact that our tight tethering can have on ourselves and our family and of course the business, and then also understanding how that can detract from enterprise value. If your goal is to grow the business and it's just revenue, 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 well, you know what, maybe you're going to grow enterprise value and it isn't about top line revenue growth. Maybe it is, maybe it's not, but you could increase value in the business and not be having to grow 10% per year. A lot of organic growth starts to top out. And when you're looking at options to grow and maybe double your business in 2 to 3 years, you got to be realistic about how you're going to do that. And by the way, most owners don't know what the business is worth. They're guessing, or they're looking at the internet and they haven't done a full, kind of workup. And that's what we tend to do also as part of our get to know you with the clients, is really do like a decent baseline of where are we today. And part of that baselining is the owner's relationship to the company. And for all the reasons we said.
Okay, good. Yeah. So, Laurie, thanks for coming back. Appreciate it. Listeners, take action. It's hard. Okay. And you know what? We're all using AI these days, and you can go there and you can get a checklist of what we just talked about. Here's where you might find you're going to still need a human. Um, it's hard to do these things because there's a lot of emotional stuff that gets wrapped up in it, and we've just found that it's easy to procrastinate because um, a lot of tough decisions need to be made that involve emotions, and so Laurie, someone wants to contact you. How can they do that?
Great ways to find me on LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn, Laurie Barkman. And if they want to learn more about what we do at Business Transition Sherpa, the website is btsherpa.com. And one of the resources that I wanted to mention for folks who have a firm where they think that maybe one day the next owner is already in their company, then take this assessment. It's only 3 minutes. So you can get it on the site, but the URL is btsherpa.com/succession. So it's a succession assessment asking you questions about your current team members. And you can take it for multiple people too. You can name specifically. So it's a really good tool. I hope people use it.
Fantastic. And listeners, if you want help, you can contact Laurie. You can contact us. We basically do the same things uh, in maximizing the value of your business or planning your eventual exit from the business. You can reach Walter and I at 301-859-0860 or email at exitreadiness.com. We also encourage you, if you're attempting to DIY your exit, any part of your exit these days using AI, check out our new Exit Readiness DIY platform at exitreadiness.com. We built it specifically for the owner who wants to try to go at it themselves, at least to a certain degree, but also wants a proven framework and a proven framework built by certified exit planners and a periodic access to those certified exit planners. We built it for you. Again, exitreadiness.com. As always, thank you for listening. And until next time on the Exit Readiness Podcast, this is Pat Ennis and Walter Deyhle signing off.